Football is
America's
America.
football
Let's
football
go.
is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass.
It's a moment in time. I don't give a damn.
Oh my God.
You love this.
It's 30 to 27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going, boys and girls? If you are lucky enough to be in your fantasy football playoffs right now, you know what's at stake tomorrow. I don't need to tell you. Some people are playing for pride. You're going against your brother, going against your dad, going against that one person that told you you suck at fantasy football. Some of you are playing for money, $1,500. I've seen leagues up to $4,000. I'm in a league that first place pays out $1,500. And I'm only 2 wins away from getting it. 2 measly wins. But we all know how fickle fantasy football is, and sometimes you start the right players and it still just doesn't go your way. Today, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that that doesn't happen to you guys. Okay? Actually, I am going to put a little light back there. There we go. We're going to do everything we can. All right. Lineup questions are open. So if you guys got a lineup question, just go ahead and throw it in there, and I'll answer those immediately. Before we get started, just want you guys to know where I am at. I'm in a 12-team league. It is a PPR league. Here's my team. That's not it. Here's my team. All right. 12-team league. Here's all 12 of the teams. It's a $150 buy-in. Winner gets $1,500. Second place gets, I think, $350, and third place gets their money back. Everybody else kicks rocks. This is my, let me give myself, what am I doing? There we go. Actually, we're going to go to Denver. Here I am feeling nicey. That's why it's nice and green boxed around for me. Team feeling nicey. I have 100, a score of 100. And this team, man, some of you are probably thinking, oh, he's in a like a cookie league when you see this lineup. But no, the strategy that I have told people on this show to use is what got me this team. It's as simple as that. And of course, I will share it. But let me turn my name off. There we go. So here's my team. Number 1 in the power rankings. Kicker, first. Running back, I'm ranked first. Quarterback, I'm ranked third. Tight end, fourth. Starters, first. I have the best bench in the league as well, which is very important, especially when you talk to people that are saying, oh, I got a quarterback wide receiver duo. You ever see these people? They're like trying to draft the quarterback for the wide receiver. You ever ask those people, how does that work? Does it actually result in getting more points, or is it just something that makes you feel nice? And I say this, if you're drafting a quarterback that has a star receiver, that's awesome. But there's only a couple quarterbacks that are like every week I'm starting. And oddly enough, only one of them has a wide receiver that I would start every single week. And it's Joe Burrow. And obviously that's Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, but sometimes it's a quarterback tight end combination. But if you're going against a really tough defense, now you just screwed yourself because your quarterback and your wide receiver are in a tough spot. So if you're playing a really easy defense, it's a great thing. But you're going to want another quarterback or wide receiver on your team so that you're not handcuffed if you have a bad matchup. All right, here is my team. Feeling nicey is the name. Projected standings. I'm projected to finish first in my league. What is this? Champion? 21%. You have a 100% chance of making the playoffs, a 21% chance of winning the championship, which is currently the highest percentage. Number one in the power rankings. Bye week. That stuff doesn't matter anymore. Elite players. Rest of season. Top 20. Let's see. Top 5. Rest of season. Okay. I've never seen this. Here. Where's my actual team? Here we go. I got Lamar Jackson. He's been hit or miss lately. I know there's a lot of people wondering, should I start Lamar Jackson? And man, there's probably a lot of people thinking, I never thought I would have to ask that question. But when you get to this point in your season's on the line, right, you start wondering, is it okay for me to go ahead and roll the dice? Or if Lamar has a bad game, am I going to be saying to myself, come on, dude, you knew better. You knew better. And here's my team, Lamar Jackson. Jameson Williams. All right, Jameson Williams was dropped because he had 6 points. Then he had one good game, 6 points, 5 points, 2 points. I picked him up immediately after the Bengals game. The guy that had him, I could understand why he thought, hey, let me drop this guy. This guy's getting me, 6 points or less every single week, and it's week 5. Number one thing about fantasy is if you have a player like Jameson Williams, instead of dropping him after week 5, try to remind yourself that there's 4 quarters of an NFL season. And if you have a player like Jameson Williams that went through the first quarter and just completely underperformed, always keep in mind that a lot changes during the season. New offensive coaches, new head coach, fired coach, new quarterbacks, new play callers. Dan Campbell did take over the play calling, and look, since he has 18, 16, 24, 20, 27, 17, 27. I picked this dude up off waivers because somebody overreacted because he had a bad first quarter of the year. And I've had him locked in starting every week. Mike Evans. I traded Mike Evans and Jordan Love for Lamar Jackson. I did that because I had Ricky Pearsall, who was kind of a guy that people weren't drafting high, but my plan was to start him week 1. I thought he was going to do really good out the gate, especially because San Francisco, going into the season, they didn't have any good wide receiver options. They were all injured, and Ricky Pearsall was going to get peppered with targets. So I could afford to lose a wide receiver. And it actually happens to be that when I was drafting my team, I knew I was drafting Mike Evans to trade him because I knew I was going to get wide receivers later in the draft that I was actually going to start. So I drafted Mike Evans, and immediately after the draft, I went and I found a team that screwed up their draft and just they do not have a wide receiver, a startable. And right when I found that guy, I took Mike Evans, Jordan Love, and asked if he'll trade Lamar Jackson. He said yeah. As soon as Mike Evans got hurt, there was a lot of rumors that this was a season-ending injury. I picked him back up. He's been on IR on my bench all year. Devon Achane, I didn't draft, and you're probably thinking, well, who the hell would trade Devon Achane? Well, I had Jonathan Taylor on my team. Yep, Jonathan Taylor, the guy getting 40 and 50 points every week. I had him, but I got to tell you, I do not regret what I did. I don't, because look at this, okay? This is absolutely incredible. All right, I think it was week 15. No, it was week 12, I think. 14. Okay, this is easier. We'll just do it that way. What's play? I actually should be 10-4. The only reason I'm not is because I forgot to bench Lamar when he was a game time decision, and then they said he wasn't playing. This is the guy right here. See, this is actually the week. Lamar Jackson, 0 points. I had Daniel Jones on my bench who had 34. And I had Daniel Jones starting the previous weeks, but I benched him because Lamar was supposed to be back. It turns out right before the game started, Lamar was ruled out, and I screwed up. And I lost that week because of it. As you can see, I only lost by 9 points. Garrett Wilson, somebody that I picked up as well, dropped after his injury. And if you're wondering about the order, so anyway, I had Jonathan Taylor, 38 points. Look at this. I had Jonathan Taylor, week 1, week 2, 30, 30, 30, 24, 34, 34, 7, 52. I sold after 52. Because as we all know, the trade deadline's week 12, and I saw this, and I said, we're not getting that kind of production. That's not happening again. Not because he's not capable, but because Jacksonville's the best run defense in the league, and they play him twice. Houston's top 5, Seattle's top 5, San Francisco, I believe, is 8th. And Kansas City, I wasn't sure. I knew Kansas City was going to, do much better than Atlanta. We'll put it that way. But, yeah, I mean, I saw his remaining schedule. I saw that he just scored 52, and I thought, well, who could I trade him for that would put me in a better position? Because there's not many players that it would make sense to trade a guy like that for. But the guy that is in first place, he's 12-2, and I'm going to play him in the championship most likely. And I'm going to beat him most likely because he's going to start Jonathan Taylor, and I'm going to start Devon Achane. Look at Devon Achane. Say, like I said, week 11, he had a bye week. Okay, Devon Achane has almost not as impressive, but almost as impressive. But look at the remaining schedule. Cincinnati, the number 1 worst run defense. Tampa Bay, 7th worst. The Jets, 3rd worst. Pittsburgh, they're decent. 10th, 4th, 9th. These were fantastic matchups. So why did I trade Jonathan Taylor? It has nothing to do with the player. It had everything to do with the opponent. It has everything to do with the opponent. Now look, if you look at Jonathan Taylor, since I've traded him, I traded him here 8 points, 15, 11, 13. Oh, what happened? He's got 1 touchdown in the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks. I mean, he had 5 touchdowns in between weeks 8 and week 10. And then exactly what I knew was going to happen happened to him. We got Daniel Barry in Sports Highlights in the chat. Happy Sunday, everyone. How's it going, Daniel Barry? Happy Sunday. Just going over some fantasy football. But yeah, in that's the type of trade that is required if you want to win this thing. People will look at a player like Jonathan Taylor, especially him being 38, 58 type points. And you know what they would say? He's untradeable. It's just like in real life. It doesn't matter who it is, you pick up the phone. And funny enough, I initiated this trade. I was the one that wanted Jonathan Taylor off my team, but only for one guy. That's the kicker. Devon Achane was the only player I would have traded Jonathan Taylor for. And what did I do? What did I get for him? Well, Jonathan Taylor, I wonder what this is, compare managers. Let's see. Oh, 6 teams. By the way, I have 4 teams because I didn't know how to figure out how to do mock draft on Yahoo because I always use ESPN. So I have like 5 leagues that I don't even check. It's really annoying, but it's really fucking up my win-loss record. This is my first time drafting in this league, and it's my first time on Yahoo. So I'm not 37-55. I'm 9-5. I should be 10-4, but anyway. I was hoping it would say how many waiver additions I made. Let me see. My team log. Let's see what that is. Waiver priority 10th. Total points 1,800. Since 2023. Oh, last year. Yeah, last year it auto-drafted for me and I didn't even... It sucked. I was meeting my girlfriend's parents and it auto-drafted for me. And I remember I starred a couple players and guess what? I starred Josh Jacobs and he was my number 1 overall pick and it screwed me up all year. But anyway, I was hoping it would say how many waiver picks that I've made. I think it might be in here. Kyle, football, fantasy football, trophies, medals. I don't know what any of this shit means. And these are the fake leagues. This is my real team. As you can see, I got a logo. But anyway, look at Devon Achane the last couple weeks compared to Jonathan Taylor. 134 yards. He had 92 yards in the first half. He didn't play the second half in this game because of a rib injury. And then last week, I tell you, what I am concerned about is the new quarterback. I hope he still throws him the ball. Christian McCaffrey, there's nothing to say about Christian McCaffrey. We all know Christian McCaffrey. Kyle Pitts Sr., this is the equivalent. Kyle Pitts Sr. being on my team is the equivalent to the Bears winning tonight. They had such poor clock management that they weren't able to save the 2-minute warning. It took them 42 seconds from the end of third down to kick the field goal. And because it took 42 seconds, the 2-minute warning went away. And the field goal was good, but with 1:58 seconds left, they only had 2 timeouts. So the Bears had to kick an onside kick, and they didn't really have to do that, but they did. And somehow recovered the onside kick and scored a touchdown because of it. So it's like bad clock management won the Bears the game. My trade for Devon Achane, he wanted Dalton Kincaid, and he gave me Justin Jefferson, which at the time I thought was fucking awesome. No, it hasn't been awesome. Matter of fact, it's a miracle that I've been able to win with one of my players essentially getting me nothing. And I've done it 3 weeks in a row. It's a miracle. I mean, Justin Jefferson, if my team wasn't amazing, I mean, this guy would have lost me everything. And the other guy would have felt like an evil genius because he's like, obviously Justin Jefferson's one of those guys that's so good. You feel like you're compelled to start him, even if he's unworthy. Sergio Audric-Estime or Tony Pollard. That's a good one. That's a good one. I know Audric-Estime pretty well. Audric-Estime was actually a Bronco we drafted Audric-Estime, and he came out of Notre Dame, strong runner, doesn't have that breakaway speed, but here's my concern with him: the amount of teams that he's been on since Denver. I mean, you spend a 5th round draft pick on a guy, you would think that you would want to keep him, but Denver was like, no, we're going to have to go elsewhere. He had a fumbling problem as well. And I mean, look what it's taken for Audric-Estime to even get a starting opportunity. Because, you had Neal go down, because you had also, Kamara. All right, Kamara went down as well. So it's like they're kind of just throwing him out there. I make a list of rankings. I had Vidal, Algier, Charbonnet, Pacheco, and who's your other guy? Tony Pollard, who actually kind of just like put himself back on the map last week. Had like a Tony Pollard of old. I had Tony Pollard going against backup quarterback, 28th. And then I had Julian McLaughlin here. Where did I rank Audric-Estime? He can't be that low. I must have missed him. I think I had him right around Blake Corum, Jordan Mason. I'm telling you, what does my gut say? My gut says Tony Pollard. And usually, like, I would have a strong opinion. This is kind of a weird one because it's kind of like Superbad when he's like, your name's McLovin. He's like, yeah, it was between that or Muhammad. And he's like, why the fuck was it between that or Muhammad? Is this for a flex position, or is this your running back number 2? That's really important for me. I mean, look, okay, RB2, then yeah. I mean, I'm going with Tony Pollard. Like, Audric-Estime is more of like all right, we're going to see what Audric-Estime can do. That's, a lot different than what we're seeing with Tony Pollard. Like, Tony Pollard, I have him ranked around Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, he's first off, he's in his best stretch of the season. Okay? He was unstartable. And if you've had him on your roster, I would go on a limb and say that you haven't started Tony Pollard since week 5. No. It probably took you like 2 weeks of bad play, like week 8 probably. And then he played Cleveland, had 28 points, 25 carries, 161 yards. And what's interesting is Tony Pollard, people are saying, look at what Tony Pollard's been able to do. Well, what did you want him to do? He had 10 carries week 6. He had 6 carries week 7. He had 10 carries week 9, 11 carries week 8, 10 carries week 11. Like, all right, well, let's go to his pop game, 28 points. Oh, 25 carries. Look at that. Okay? I feel like they got back to running the football with Tony Pollard, and he rewarded them with an RB2 finish. And I think Tennessee was like, hey, let's try that again. It doesn't have to be 25 carries, but let's make sure that it's more than 10. And what have we seen? They gave him 14 carries, which is 11 less, but he still got 17 points. The week before against Cleveland, when he had 25 carries, he averaged 6.4 yards a carry. He averaged 7.4 yards a carry with 14 carries. The week before that, he had 60 yards on 10 carries. That's still 6 yards per carry. And I think that staff looked at the 6 yards per carry and they said, hey, why was there a guy on your team that had 6 yards per carry that only got 10 freaking attempts? Like, does that make sense? The game plan next week needs to be Tony Pollard. We're going to give him a full load and see if he can have 6 yards per carry. And he had more. So, in my opinion, Tony Pollard has put the Titans in a position where you're looking at a floor of between 14 carries. There's no more 10 carries for Tony Pollard. And going against Kansas City, you're going against a team with a backup quarterback, right? If you were going against Mahomes, I would be concerned about the game getting out of hand early. Then they become one-dimensional. They're throwing it 50 times. The running game, you're relying on running back catches. You're relying on stuff like that. I could see the game in Kansas City being like 13-16 Titans win outright. It's in Tennessee. The weather's beautiful. It's going to be like 65 degrees tomorrow. It's like one of the warmest days ever in Nashville in December 21st. No rain, no clouds. It's a beautiful day to run the damn football. And I think because Kansas City's offense, look, they were sluggish before Mahomes went down. I couldn't believe Kansas City was the favorite. I don't think it should be like, Tennessee -7, but I think it should have been like 2. It was at 3.5. I'll take that all day. And yeah, I mean, if you're telling me that the game's going to be, I think it's going to be like a 13-16 type of game. That tells me that Tony Pollard might even have like 20 to 25 attempts tomorrow. And Kansas City, let me just pull something up. Kansas City now ranks 99. They give up 99 rushing yards per game, which is in the top 10. So not the greatest matchup, but he had 14 carries against San Francisco. San Francisco's 12th. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kansas City, let me pull up their injury report and see. Let me see if there's anybody on the D-line injured. Because if it's even a question, right, the Chiefs are done. They're done. In their injury report, let me just show you. It is loaded. This looks like their damn roster. And hell yeah, appreciate the new sub, Sergio. This looks like a roster. You got 2 safeties. What is it? FP? Is that full practice? I'm assuming FP is full practice. Did not practice or did not participate. Game status out. So these guys are out. Offensive line, you got Trent McDuffie and Leo Chanel. Those are 2 guys that 100% make a big difference. Trent McDuffie being out, he's a great open field tackler. And then for the Titans, questionable. You got a linebacker, Cedric Gray. What's funny is the Titans have a linebacker named Cody Barton. He's not on the injury report, but he signed my nipple, and I got it tattooed. It was, I had been drinking that day, but he was a Bronco before he went to the Titans, and I don't know what to say about it, but anyway, I'm not proud. Yeah, here it is. Chris Jones, defensive tackle, hamstring. Limited practice. Then he registers a full practice on Friday. I just don't know if you're Andy Reid and you got a guy like Chris Jones, imagine he has a significant injury when the Chiefs are playing for nothing. And you're already out Rashee Rice. You're out Jawan Taylor. You're out Jalen Moore. You're out Trent McDuffie. I actually think the game script is going to be, hey, we're going to run the hell out of the football. And I think Tony Pollard, he might be ranked a little too low. Like, I could see him having, like, top 10 potential this week against a Kansas City team that has nothing to play for. I mean, it just doesn't. There's nothing at all that you look at saying like, oh, these guys are going to come out, play inspired. They're going to play good football. And then the Jets in New Orleans. I mean, look, the Jets don't have anything to play for either. But the big difference is, I guess, with the Jets, they're the 28th ranked defense in rushing yards allowed per game. So better matchup, better player, more reliable. He's on a heater. I would go with Tony Pollard. And if he makes me look dumb, I can live with that, because just because it doesn't work out in the end doesn't always mean you made the wrong choice. Hey, brother, would you start Jawan Jennings or Bucky Irving in a flex? Let me see one more time who the 49ers. They're going against the Colts. The Colts with Phillip Rivers, a lot of 3-and-outs. Brock Purdy's kind of on a heater. Let's see something really quick. Let me see. I want to see time of possession. Here we go. Tie takeaways per game, turnover, giveaways, safety, fumbles, opponent penalties. What I want to see is scoring up. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, the Colts are, because I just wanted to look at yesterday. So first half possession share. And I'm just looking at the last one game. So the Rams, this is in the first half. The Rams possessed the ball in their last game against Seattle in the first half 70% of the game. And if you watch Thursday Night Football, you're like, yeah, they definitely did. I mean, it was like the Rams had the ball the whole time. Sam Darnold had, I think he had 6 passing yards in the second quarter. And I had a bet on him to have 15 passing yards per quarter. So I was very frustrated with how Seattle operated in the second quarter. I can't believe they turned that thing around and won the game. I mean, the 2-point conversion, that was like one of the best games I've ever seen. Now, this year, now the Rams are one of those teams. Like if you got the ball 70% of the time, I'm gonna start a receiver like that. Why do you think Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua are putting up these crazy numbers? Well, when you have the ball 70% of the time, it makes a big difference. Now, I'm bringing this up to say, I bet you Indianapolis doesn't rank too high here. I'm only looking at their last game because Philip Rivers has only been there for 1 game. Oh my God. No, Indianapolis is ranked 3rd. Wait. They possessed the ball in the first half last week against Seattle, 63% of the first half, which was 3rd. Green Bay and the Rams were the only teams better. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's see about the second half. Let's look at average time of possession in the last 1 game. San Francisco, 37 minutes. Last week, there was only 1 team that had the ball longer than the 49ers. And it was weird. It was the Bengals. The Bengals. That must have been a very fluky game. Because they got beat 24-0. But only 1 team, but no team had the ball longer than the Bengals. So, 2 things. 1, if you have Lamar Jackson, you should be encouraged by this. Because A, it was 24-0, so he wasn't trying to pile up and make big plays, very conservative. B, he didn't have the ball very long. And he still put up good numbers. And then after the game in the press conference, they asked him, "Oh, you look like you were moving better out there." And he said, "I told you I was feeling better. I guess you guys didn't believe me." So Lamar Jackson's like really feeling good right now. I'm so mad at myself for starting Jacobs in my lineup. I wish I could have started both Irving and Jennings. I love this perspective. Thank you. Like, I would have told you, and I'm not trying to be an armchair guy. Josh Jacobs was on crutches on Monday. And you see that in fantasy football, people say there are certain guys that if they play, you start no matter what. If no one else tells you, let me be the guy to say that's just not true. That is absolutely not true. And I learned that the hard way. And I still go against it. I'm not saying that I do it like the right thing. No, I'm like talking to myself and you. I had Garrett Wilson, somebody dropped him, and I picked him up. He thought he was going to be out all year. Garrett Wilson comes back, his first game back, and I start him. And there's question marks of whether he's actually healthy or not. This guy got injured in like the first quarter and has been out since. And I should have known better, just like you should have known better. Josh Jacobs was on crutches on Monday. I used to think that if a player was on the injury report with something like a sprained ankle, it truly just didn't mean anything. I don't know why. I just thought, yeah, no, that's nothing. Like, as long as they're okay to play, we build up these guys to be like these like freaks of nature, and they are. And I think that's why we sometimes forget that, like, I've sprained my ankle so bad I've heard it snap, and I couldn't even put any pressure on it. I couldn't even crawl to the bathroom because my leg was hanging behind. When you're crawling, your leg hangs. I couldn't, like, it was black. I should have had surgery. It's never been the same. So, like, if there's a guy that is, like, battling an injury, it depends what it is, and it depends what position it is. Josh Jacobs couldn't walk without crutches. He's a running back. I mean, it's like the worst combination of things ever. Now, if you have like a wide receiver that's dealing with like a pectoral issue, all right, maybe I'll give him a go. Like in last week, I didn't with Mike Evans, and he had like 20 points, and I felt like an idiot. I'm like, I should have played this guy. Look at Mike Evans last week. He had 20 points, 12 catches, 132 yards, or 12 targets, 6 catches for 132 on my bench. So, yeah, I would have definitely told you, like, Josh Jacobs, not only is he not healthy right now, if it's possible, I would pick up Wilson because there's a good chance he doesn't play next week. And my gut's telling me he will play because if he was able to play this week, why wouldn't he play next week? But if he re-aggravated it in any way, or just the fact that he played an NFL game today on it, like it's not like he didn't have, I think he had 12 carries. I can find out quick because the guy I'm playing started him. Josh Jacobs. Here he is. I mean, look at this guy. He forgets to drive. And I would say like, oh, this is one of those leagues where people don't check their lineup. That's not even the case. This guy's 12-4. The winner of this league gets $1,500. This is the semifinals. I don't know how this happens. But I guess Davante Adams was questionable all week. And then right before the game, Davante Adams is ruled out. And I was crossing my fingers all Monday, Tuesday that like this guy is going to get ruled out and he's going to forget to move him in the lineup. But yeah, Josh Jacobs today, he went out there, 12 carries, 36 yards. He very well, and why didn't we see him in the second half? There's people speculating that it's because he had a fumble. And then Matt LaFleur had a reason to fire him or to bench him. Matt LaFleur doesn't need a reason to do anything. He's the head coach. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I'm buying the whole he got benched because he fumbled. This is Josh Jacobs we're talking about. And what does the fumble have to do with his injury? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, oh, you fumbled, so now you're too hurt to play. Let me ask you this. If he was fully healthy and fumbled the ball, would that be a reason to bench him? Of course not. So why would it be when he's hurt? It just doesn't make sense. Josh Jacobs, in my opinion, was benched because he wasn't as good as Emmanuel Wilson because of his injury. And will he be better than him by that point next week? I don't think so. Probably not. Here's another. Sergio said, "Here's another one I'm stuck on. Darren Waller. If you don't mind, if you don't mind telling me who you have, like your other running back options, I'll just to see what you're working with. Here's another tough one I'm stuck on. Darren Waller or Tyler Warren? I think I would go with Tyler Warren. And before I answer that as like a finality thing, let me take a look. Because here's the thing. Darren Waller, if Tua was playing, Darren Waller. What you don't want to do is chase last week's touchdowns with this week's quarterback. Darren Waller. I mean, hey, I would say, like, first off, give yourself a pat on the back, because I bet you, I bet when you drafted Tyler Warren, by week 5, you were probably like, I'm winning it all. Like, Tyler Warren is just insane. But you're going against the 49ers, which, if I have two guys I'm like 50-50 on, I always go with the guy playing on Monday night. I like to have one guy playing on Thursday just because it's fun. But these guys out there that'll have like 3-4 guys playing Thursday, that is my nightmare. I even look at my opponent. If there's 2 guys I'm 50-50 on, and one of them plays Monday night or Sunday night, I always go with that one. People are more likely to want to have like a standout game on prime time. Think about it. In one scenario, you're playing at 1 p.m. with 13 or 7 other games going on. The other scenario, the whole world's watching, the lights are on, and there's something about that I think brings the best out of everybody. And B, if my opponent is beating me by, like, let's say 14 points, I want him to have no one left to play, and I want to see my one guy, or even, a guy in a kicker or a guy in a defense, because it's like having like a 7-leg parlay that has 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock games, and Sunday night games, and like something in the 1 o'clock game screws up your whole parlay. It's like, that sucks. So I like to have something that I can look forward to. If I'm going to lose, I want to lose at the very end. I don't want to lose at 4 o'clock on Sunday. That's not fun. I'd be so mad at starting. Oh, okay, I got that one already. I might be cooked for the playoffs. Okay, here's these other ones. I heard that Quinn Ewers likes to target the tight end since he's 32nd in receiving yards, receptions, and touchdowns to tight ends. Cincinnati, and they're 32nd against the run as well. And I have Achane, so maybe we ride this out together. So on one hand, Tyler Warren, a very difficult matchup, but Darren Waller, I have Darren Waller ranked 13th, and I have Tyler Warren ranked 11th this week. I mean, Tyler Warren, because Phillip Rivers just doesn't have the ability to throw the deep ball anymore. He doesn't have the strength to get hit. It's like Tom Brady when he was 45 years old. He had the fastest time to throw in the NFL because he was like, I'm not getting hit. So there's a reason they call tight ends a safety blanket. Now, the same goes for Quinn Ewers, who's making his first start. He's going to want a security blanket as well. It's just such a wild card because we don't really know. We don't have a sample size of the Dolphins' offense operating. We don't know if Mike McDaniels is going to switch it up, but we love the matchup. We do love the matchup against the Bengals. Let me ask you this. Is there anybody on, you're not going to get anybody on waivers better than Tyler Warren or Darren Waller? I would go with Tyler Warren, but I would do it because these are two guys I am actually. It's very rare. I'm very 50-50 on these two because I heard Quinn Ewers kind of sucks, to be honest. And I saw him in the preseason. He did not look good. Let me see something really quick. And Gainwell or Pickens? Ooh, now we're talking. Oh, by the way, as far as that last one goes, I have something for you. Gainwell has been that's kind of Gainwell or Pickens right here. This one.
Ewers
This
delivers
is
off
Ewers.
target. He put his receiver high
This
snap
is
handled. Ewers delivers off target. He put his receiver Theo Weiss Jr., the rookie out of Missouri. 3rd down and 5. It's Ewers. On the slant, it's broken up. Josh Blackwell lunging into the intended target. AJ Hennig, the Lincoln Way East alum.
I mean, we haven't talked enough about Spidey. I mean, you look at their nickelback, sign him to an extension, and Kyler Gordon, the guy's got blitz, he gets turnovers.
Is like one of those guys that you're just like, I'm starting this guy. What happened? Making my internet work too hard here.
And then really it's about the health of Brisker.
And let the defensive
Bears defense is pretty good as well.
linemen and linebackers have more opportunities on shorter plays. Screen pass.
All right.
And that was dropped incomplete. Looking for Alexander Madison.
Just keep the head out of it.
All
On
right.
3rd down.
Well, I'm not even going to show this because it's like terrible. Okay, George Pickens, he's the start for me. I'm going to be honest. George Pickens is like, he's a guy that you're going to set and forget for the entire year. And I'm pretty sure like I came to that conclusion by like week 5. You know, he's just that good. He's just that good. Let's see where I have him ranked. And this is this obviously is a flex position. Let's see, where is George Kittle, Kenneth Gainwell, RB 27 at Detroit. And then George Pickens, wide receiver 10. Yeah. George Pickens, I know he's like, if I'm not mistaken, he's disappointed, right? The last couple of weeks. Let me see if I can pull his number. I don't need to. I remember he's been disappointing, but you don't want to get into these habits of chasing last week's really good game, and the opposite is like benching because of a bad game or even 2 bad games. You have to ask yourself, like, okay, why is this guy having 2 bad games? Like, what is it? Well, he went against the Minnesota Vikings, who've allowed the fewest touchdowns to quarterbacks. So I don't know if it's so much like this guy's in a rut as much as it's like, yeah, that's kind of to be expected. It's kind of like Genty is going against Houston's defense. Somehow, I really don't know how, but fantasy has projections for Genty 15.7. I'd be shocked if he got 7 or 15.7. And you know what's even funnier is like, look at this, 15, 17, 17, 17. Look at his last 4 games, 9, 12, 5, 5. He had this one good game against Cleveland where he got the single touchdown that the Raiders scored the entire day. And it was because he had 58 yards on 8 catches against Cleveland. Now, weirdly enough, Cleveland's like one of the better run defenses. So, but, here he is against us. I'm a Broncos fan. 5 points. Here he is. I mean, what are we talking about? Like, we got a guy that's had, 2 games over 20 points. This is almost a third. But you don't want to, like, look at these projections and be like, because I know how it feels when you have a guy on your bench that's projected like 18 points. You want to see how much I know? That's how much I know. It went down to 14. But still, like, look at my Mike Evans is at 13. I know this feeling kind of blows. And it makes you wonder, like, am I doing something wrong? But you just got to ignore them completely. You can glance at them, but just know, like, they're not accurate. They never are. They said Josh Jacobs was going to score 17 points tonight. Who would say that? Who would even predict that? He was on crutches Monday. So, all that to say, in my opinion, like, Pickens has got to be the move. Now, let me see really quick in my team or in my league. I'm wondering who has Pickens, but I guess it ultimately doesn't even matter who has Pickens. I just wanted to see how much points he had last week. But I have CeeDee Lamb as wide receiver 5, and then I have George Pickens as wide receiver 10. And if the thing about George Pickens is this is one of those guys that you have to brace for a potential bad game. But if you're going against a guy that started, let's say last week, Kyle Pitts had 50 points, right? If that is you this week, like, you're going against somebody that had like a Kyle Pitts like performance, then you got to start George Pickens, because sometimes you just need his upside. And like, or if you started a guy that got you 0 points, or like Josh Jacobs, I started him, he got me 6 points. If you're in that situation, I would rather have the guy with the lower floor and the higher ceiling than the guy with the higher floor and the lower ceiling. Because I think Kenneth Gainwell gives you kind of a good baseline. Like, if it were me, I would do George Pickens because I can afford to, because my guy I'm playing kind of sucks this week. But if I was like, I just need to play it safe, not do anything dumb, honestly, I just can't see a world where I don't start George Pickens. I'm trying to, but Pickens, the targets, he's one of those guys that every single week he gives you like a week winning potential all on his own. And I think Dallas's offense bounces back. They're playing at home, so weather's not an issue or a factor. And I think Dallas is really starting to, like, defensively play a lot better ever since they acquired Quinnen Williams from the Jets. Now, he's dealing with an injury, but, man, I mean, he's been criticized recently. He drew criticism from, I think it was like an internet thing where people were talking about how he doesn't want to run block. And then there was the game that he had, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where like he was running for a ball and it looked like he could have tried to make a catch on it and he just didn't. And nobody knew why. I don't know, like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you get that George Pickens once in a while. But man, when he's on, he's on. Like, but there's just, I just want to tell you, like, he is somebody that might be in the doghouse if he goes out there and he's just not showing effort and he's not trying to run block and he's dropping passes. All right. His motor, that's the best way to say it. He needs to go out there and show that he has a good motor. He needs to come out with a lot of energy. And I think he is going to want a bounce back game. He finished as wide receiver 61 last week, right? He only had one other week where he finished that low, and it was week 1 when he had 3 catches for 30 yards. You know, ever since then, he has he has wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 against Carolina. I think CeeDee Lamb might have been out there for that. But, I mean, even week 11 and 12, he finishes wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. He's had 2 bad weeks, but I think he'll get you at least 14 points. I would say, like, expect 14 with an upside of, like, 27 points. And that's a lot better than if Kenneth Gainwell is just... Yeah, man, this is a tough-ass question because Kenneth Gainwell, I'm thinking, like, if the Lions offense is clicking and it turns out to be they're playing from behind, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And Kenneth Gainwell was very involved. Like, he had 7 catches last week. But not only that, he had 7 catches on 7 targets, which is really important for Aaron Rodgers because you can gain trust with him and lose it really quick. It is very clear that Rodgers trusts Kenneth Gainwell because just look at his last 4 or 5 weeks. I'm going to give you the target and the catches. 7 for 7. Week before, 7 targets, 6 catches. Week before, 3 targets, 2 catches. Week before, 6 targets, 6 catches. Week before, 8 targets, 7 catches. So it's very clear that, like, something has changed. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell didn't have 7 targets in a game until week 11. Not one game did he get to 7 targets until week 11. Since week 11, he has 31 targets. That's 5 weeks. He had 8 targets, 6 targets, 7. The exception of the Buffalo Bills game, which, if I'm not mistaken, they got blown out in the Bills game. Or no, maybe? I don't remember. But whatever. The point is like, this guy's getting between 6 and 8 targets. And that results in like 7 or 8 catches. And how does Detroit do against running backs? They're terrible. They're very, very susceptible to the running back, especially in like the screen game. And I know this because I was looking this up. I think it was 4 weeks ago. Against the running backs in passing. I think I saved the article to you. Yeah, they've struggled significantly against opposing running backs in the passing game recently, giving up big plays, allowing high receptions, yards, struggling with pass. I've changed my mind. This is how I decide, though. I have to do a deep dive into a world where I start George Pickens. And then I have to do a deep dive into a world where I start Kenneth Gainwell. And I need to come back and say, all right, which world do I want to live in? Okay. I think this is definitely the move. Not only that, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to let's say this. The Lions have to win out to get in the playoffs. So you're going to get the best version of the Lions, an aggressive Lions. Expect them to go for it every fourth down. So there's only one way the Steelers are winning this game, and it's by being aggressive back. And I think the Steelers are going to be like, hey, when we need to just convert on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, we're not going to throw the ball 15, 20 yards deep to DK Metcalf. We're just going to try to extend the drive, dump it off to Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell leads Pittsburgh in receptions. I don't know, man. I'm thinking Kenneth Gainwell might be the move. And I'm looking at Detroit's passing defense here, and I'll share this with you as well. Lions, here it is. Veteran running back Kenneth Gainwell has seen his role in Pittsburgh offense steadily increase through the season. What started as a primary, and by the way, Kurt Browning and Behoff, I'm talking Behoff. Kenneth Gainwell may get to you in 1 second. In fact, 5th-year running back, 57 receptions in the year. DK Metcalf with 77. Yeah, I would probably go with Kenneth Gainwell, right? You got one guy that's trending down. That solely wouldn't make me pick against him. They're at home. I wouldn't be shocked if both these guys have a good game. But Detroit allowing touchdowns in the red zone at a 61.7 clip. That's 23rd in the league. Pittsburgh has 42 red zone visits. That's only 20th in the league. But when they get there, they take advantage with touchdowns. And that is good for Kenneth Gainwell. 7 of the 8 divisions have a team in first place tied for that. Did not win their division last year. I don't care about any of that. Okay. So, yes, I would just go with Kenneth Gainwell. Final answer. And I don't know if I should do Warren because I have to. Oh, yeah. I would just go with, don't do it against yourself. Bucky, 1 p.m. Sunday, and Jennings, Monday. Everyone wants to say start Bucky, but Jennings is up there too. What's your final call? Appreciate you. Absolutely. Final call. I just need to see, is Bucky Irving, is there any limitations? Like, is he fully Bucky, not 80% Bucky? Why is he limited on the goal line? I understand when Tampa played Buffalo. Remember Sean Tucker? He went to Syracuse in college. So the Buffalo game was a homecoming for Sean Tucker. And I told everybody he's going to have a huge game because it's a homecoming. And he had a huge game. He had like 30 points. And even though Bucky Irving has come back, we've seen Sean Tucker get the carries. I just saw it on Thursday Night Football. The Bucs get all the way down to the red zone. Sean Tucker comes in. I would go with Jennings. Bucky Irving. He's been struggling in goal line situations. He had 16 red zone targets this year. He failed to get a single yard on 8 of his 16 touches. That's half of them. 8 of his 16 touches in the red zone, he failed to get a single. I said red zone. Goal line. Okay, so they're on the goal line. They need to score. 16 times they've given it to him. Half of the time he doesn't get a yard. We already know about the injury. You know, I don't know if something he's going to have a regular workload, and he doesn't appear to have an injury designation. But the red zone limitation, I think that's just more of, hey, we're having more success with this guy. Bucky Irving, if he's going to score, he's going to need to score from 10 yards out, 20 yards out. Maybe he'll get a goal line carry, but still, like, I would go with Jennings because Ricky Pearsall was just ruled out. That puts the 49ers in great spot. He's going to get peppered with targets. The 49ers, it's a big game. Definitely do it. Don't think twice. Brenton Strange on waivers, not against the Broncos. Don't do that. I'm being patient, brother. Oh, pick 2. London versus Arizona. Pickens versus the Chargers. Tracy versus Minnesota. T. Higgins versus Miami. I'm going to rule Tyrone Tracy out. Minnesota's defense. T. Higgins going against. Let me see. I think T. Higgins is T. Higgins, in your opinion, due for one? Because I think he might be. 39. Yeah. Drake London is, I mean, he's got to be on your list. Atlanta, Arizona with Jacoby Brissett. He's been throwing it all over Jacoby. Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming back, which hurts Michael Wilson, but still, I could see this game being one of those like 31-34 type games. And if that's the case, then yeah, I mean, expect Drake London to have a game like we've seen all year. The only thing is Michael Penix isn't going to be out there. He's officially questionable still, but we're assuming he's active in this case. Before missing time, he had 3 really good games in a row. Expectations should be measured, but like I've been saying, like who gives you the upside that he gives you? He had, I mean, 34 points week 9, 14 targets, 9 catches. He's gone over 100 yards. Look at this. He had 158 yards, 118, 104, 119. I just don't know how you don't start that guy. Pickens is, things are kind of weird right now for Pickens against the Chargers. It's in Dallas. If it were my team, and then the Miami game, it's where is that game being played? Miami is week 16 at Miami. Beautiful. Let me just check real quick. Miami weather. 70 degrees. It's going to be 80 degrees, 70 degrees, 0% chance of rain. Joe Burrow. I would go with T. Higgins in Drake London. T. Higgins I feel like he could have a big game. And this is also one of those where like we see a lot of times where we're going to take our best corner, put it on Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins is going to sit back and eat. I just don't want. I playing in a dome. I'm really torn on Pickens, and I think my final call. I would take Pickens. Please, please, please. I hope you didn't leave after I said that. Because things just haven't been right with the Bengals, and things haven't been right with Pickens lately. But I think it's just he went against a really tough team in Minnesota, and then he had one bad game before that. Now we're putting it all together like that's who he is. Chargers are playing for, the 1 seed. They're still. The Chargers control their own destiny to get the number 1 seed because they play Denver week 18. If Denver loses even one football game. And I think they're going to come out. They're going to want to win, and Dallas is going to want to play spoiler, and it's in Dallas. I think Dallas is due for a big game. I think Dak's due for a big game. I don't know if they win outright, but I think both of these teams are going to score in the high 20s or 30s. I would go with George Pickens and Drake London. If London doesn't play, I would go with Higgins. If Higgins, vice versa. But it should be between, I think, London, Higgins, and Pickens. It even rhymes. But I would definitely go with Pickens and Drake London. Jennings Bucky gets his goal line snaps taken away from Tucker. Exactly. Jennings has also been playing well as of late and will be at home on Monday Night Football. Last question for me. Purdy or Goff? 4 passing touchdowns. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown on my team. Who do I start? That's a good one. Man, Brock Purdy had such a good. I would go Brock Purdy. I would do Brock Purdy, man. I really like what I'm seeing from Brock Purdy. I mean, he's very dependable. You kind of know what you're going to get. Since week 11, we've seen him finish as QB3. Between QB3 and QB6, like there's really not like a what happened to Brock Purdy moment. He's been doing really good. I mean, he made a jump pass. I don't know if you saw his jump pass. I mean, he could spit out QB1 numbers. He could finish as the best quarterback this week. I think this is one of those where maybe he doesn't finish that high, but I would go with Brock Purdy. He seems to be the hot hand right now. I mean, 26 points last week, 30 passing attempts. He completed 23 of 30, only 7 incompletions, 5 yards shy of 300 yards to go with 3 touchdowns, and he almost ran it for 50 yards. Like Brock Purdy's feeling himself right now. And the 49ers are in the driver's seat to the 1 seed. And all of a sudden the 49ers are like, hey, this is our year. And Brock Purdy, this team's getting healthy at the right time. I would ride this wave. And Kurt said, just scared of his knee mostly. Pickens being an oddball is freaky. Yeah, it could be a case of all them being decent. London for sure. Great rhyme. Yeah. No problem, brother. I lied. Could you also let me know which defense I should start? I can pick from 49ers, Chargers, Bengals, Jets, Titans, Ravens, Pats. Wow. 49ers. And look at, I'm doing it with you. I'm not sure why they're projected so low against the Colts. You know what I mean? Like 5 points. But like I said, F the projections. They suck. They're dumb. They're not accurate. And they're wrong all the time. I would go with the 49ers. The Ravens and Pats are playing each other. But I have both of those ranked pretty much like probably not too low, but like 19 and 20, 20 and 21 area. The 49ers I have at top 10 defense this week. So, I mean, and there's nothing in the world that could ever make me start the Bengals. That's just never happening. And the New York Jets, the New York Jets are the best thing about them is they're playing the Vikings, who've been struggling, and they're probably like around 16 for me. But like the 49ers, to me, it's a no-brainer here. I just get scared with Purdy because he threw 4 picks against the Panthers. Yeah, but that doesn't affect the defense, except for the fact that they have to be on the field more. But I think betting on Brock Purdy or being scared that Brock Purdy is going to throw 4 picks again is just irrational. I'll just say it that way. Like, yes, he did it. That sucks. But that's just not like, it's not like a normal day at the office for Brock Purdy. I have Olave in my wide receiver slot in JSN, who's already played. Oh, 4 picks was for the Goff versus Purdy question. Okay. Yeah, I'm still riding Purdy right now. You see me riding Purdy. Want to catch me riding Purdy? That should be a t-shirt. Man, I just accidentally. I have Olave in my wide receiver slot and JSN, who's already played. Flowers is in my bench. Would you keep Olave or put Flowers in? I would put Flowers in. I like what I'm seeing from Flowers lately. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but we saw Flowers like take a really big step. And right now, like, Lamar's clear favorite target, and this is a big game against New England. A big game. I mean, the Ravens are trying to win and get into the postseason. And how will they do that? They have to win their remaining games. And the way I look at it is like Lamar he's healthy. Like, this isn't a big news story because I don't know. But remember that I told you guys this. Lamar Jackson, for the first time since week 3, is healthy. It is great news if you have him at quarterback. But that's also great news if you have Zay Flowers. Now, Olave is also probably top 10. But man, that's tough. But you know what? First off, be happy. That's a lot better than being like, what should I do? I have this bum or this bum. Like, you're in a really good spot. I mean, Chris Olave's been really consistent, getting a ton of targets. I mean, he's going to get like between 10 and 13 targets, where Zay Flowers, he doesn't really get that many targets. Once in a while, he'll break 10, but it's only happened twice all year. And last time it happened was against Pittsburgh. The time before that, when it happened against the Rams. So, what am I saying? Look at the games where he has like 5 targets, 6 targets, 5 targets. Miami, Cleveland, Jets, Vikings, Detroit, that's a weird one. Maybe he got hurt. Cincinnati, 5. Look at the games where he has 7 to 11 targets. The Bengals with Joe Burrow, the Steelers 2 weeks ago, the Bears, the Rams, the Chiefs, Buffalo. So the trend here that I'm clearly seeing is when the Ravens play a playoff team, when they're in that mode, because the Ravens are one of those teams that I do believe that they play down to their opponents at times. And we've seen, like, when the Ravens go against a team like the Patriots, it's like, hey, you're going to need to have a game today. And Lamar is going to get you the ball. And you're going to have between 75 and 120 yards. And unfortunately, he only has 2 touchdowns this year, which kind of sucks. But his 2 touchdowns, he had a touchdown last week. So maybe that's something he can build off of moving forward. And then with Chris Olave, you're getting a ton of targets. And he's going against the Jets. And he's becoming one of those guys that is QB proof. Like, it doesn't matter who's playing against him. He's a very steady play, where I feel like Zay Flowers is more of a boom bust type player. I have Chris Olave as like a low ranged wide receiver 1. My gut is telling me Zay Flowers, but my brain is telling me Chris Olave, if that makes sense. And fantasy football is one with both. So usually I would say trust your gut, but it has to be your gut. It can't be mine. But I'll just say this. Both of these wide receivers should have a good week. Chris Olave would probably be my final answer. And I would probably go back and forth on it until kickoff. And unless you have a dream about this tonight that changes your mind, I would, something's telling me Zay Flowers and I can't shake it. But it's got to be your feeling. I have Zay Flowers in one of my other leagues, and like all the time I look at him and I'm like, dude, why is he such a bum? And then all of a sudden you're like, there is no player as boomer bust as Zay Flowers. I'll just put it that way. I just think it's going to be a boom week. Maybe because the 49ers just don't pressure QBs enough. Maybe they blitz Rivers after the film of him falling to the floor. Oh, okay. I'm either thinking 49ers or Chargers. Oh, I mean, they're going to be coming after Rivers. That is going to be the game plan for every single team playing the Colts with Phillip Rivers. That is, that is 100% going to happen. I'm telling you, I would go with the 49ers. And then that one I answered. All right. Let me pee really quick. If you guys have lineup questions, go ahead and throw them in. I'm all caught up. Let me get those lineup. All right. And then, Jackson Dart going against the Vikings has been my big difficult thing I've been dealing with. Last week, I woke up and I was like, I'm starting Jackson Dart. And I opened up my fantasy app and I put Michael Wilson in and benched Omarion Hampton. And I think I'm going to put Omarion Hampton in instead of Michael Wilson this week. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. Like I said, projections, they don't mean anything. And it's hard for me to do this. But you have to. Because look at it. Michael Wilson, I picked him up when, look at these modest projections. I picked him up as soon as Marvin Harrison Jr. I remember where I was. I didn't even know this guy's name, but I was watching NFL Network and it said Marvin Harrison Jr. had like surgery on a pectoral muscle and he will be out. And I immediately went on my phone. I said, who is second in targets for the Cardinals? It was Michael Wilson. I started him that week. He had 34 points, 18 targets, 16 targets, 11, 15. Now, this Tampa game, Marvin Harrison Jr. played in this game. And like that's what happened. And it's like that's what he was doing all year. It's one of those guys whose fantasy value is solely reliant on Marvin Harrison Jr. not playing. So, Omarion Hampton, have a day. I'm starting Jennings in flex, and hopefully, look at you guys. These are. I don't even know how to do this. It's gum. It's what the heck? Are you supposed to eat the wrapper? Wow. I'm starting Jennings and Flexen. Hopefully, I'll have that dream about Olave or Flowers. I need major points because I started Jacobs next to Bijan instead of Bucky. Well, at least you have Bijan. I mean, Bijan Robinson's going to have a huge day tomorrow. And that's going to make up for Josh Jacobs. You can bet on that. Going against Arizona, that's going to be a high-scoring game. McCarthy versus Dart will be a show. Lamar hasn't been himself this year, which is why I'm hesitant on Flowers. Yeah, but Lamar, let me see if I can pull it up here. Let me see really quick. I want to show you. Here it is. Baltimore, let me share this one. Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar has stated he's feeling better after dealing with a series of injuries, hamstring, knee, ankle, toe. He also recently missed practice due to an illness. In the Ravens' most recent game, a 24-0 victory over the Bengals in Week 15, Jackson showed glimpses of his former self, making key plays with his arms and his legs. So that's the thing. He was showing glimpses of himself, and people were like, "Hey, that's Lamar." In the press, they asked him about this after the game. Jackson mentioned he will only run when necessary to gain positive yards or first downs rather than pushing it too hard and risking injury. But after the game, fans and analysts observed that Jackson looked better in recent weeks, one source stating he looked closer to his usual self against the Bengals. The general consensus was that he was making a course correction and getting back on track. What I was going to say was the press asked him after the game. They said, "Hey, you looked like you were back to your normal self." And he said, "I told you guys I was feeling better. I guess you guys needed to see it to believe it." And I feel like that's something you say when you get your swagger back. That's not something you say if you're still hurt. Like, the Vikings defense against quarterbacks. Here it is. Quintal, he'll try to run you over. He doesn't really run out of bounds. Dart took another shot to the head in week 15. He was checked for a concussion before re-entering the ball game. He's missed time with brain injuries. The season continues to lower his head as a rusher in the open field. Yeah, and I don't know. Part of me saying if he can. I mean, Washington was a top 5 matchup. The Vikings give up, the 30th, their 30th. There's only 2 worse matchups. The Chargers and 31's not here, but I mean, and I was wondering, how accurate is that? So I looked up players, team, league. Dak, because he just played the Vikings, 17 points. And look, Denver, he had 9 points. And then Philly, he had 13. So, these matchups really kind of do matter. Whenever, he went against Minnesota, it's he didn't throw for a single touchdown pass. And that's a much better offense. That's Dak Prescott. Part of me is wondering, if I'm going to regret this if I don't go from Dart. That is good news from Lamar. Maybe I would lean Lamar now, too. Yeah. And I would say, though, if Dart was playing a mediocre or bad defense, I would definitely start him. And I even thought about picking up Baker Mayfield this week. I don't know why I have this feeling that this Carolina game and Tampa game is going to be 41-40, and it's going to go to overtime. And I don't know. I'm wondering, if I'm going to do something about it, or is it just going to be another one of those, I had a feeling, but I did nothing about it. He had 27 points last week against Atlanta. 277 yards, and then he was injured for like 3 games, but the other thing was people were saying, oh, don't pick him up during New Orleans week. Look how bad he did last time they played the Saints. He had 7 points. He had 15 this time. But look at this. 24th, 23rd is the closest. But look, he had 38 points against Seattle. And this is a division rivalry. Let me see. Bucks Panthers 2024. This is the game I'm thinking of. No, the Panthers played somebody and it was like 41-40 or something. Baker, 235 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. And then December 29th, Baker threw for 5 touchdown passes, 27 for 32, 359 yards. 9-7, so that would have been week 16. So I'm going to go 2024, week 16, fantasy football rankings. Week 16 fantasy football rankings 2024. I guess I'm never going to find it. I'm just curious. Let me do this. How many points did Baker Mayfield get in week 16 in 2024? Baker Mayfield hits a new high. Baker Mayfield made 1 mistake against the Chargers, leaving a pass in the middle of the field. I don't know. Something's telling me. Bucky went nuts last year versus the Panthers, and he's playing them tomorrow. Does that mean anything for him and Baker, or do you see a new season being completely different ball game? Well, it's like year to year. Of course, it's different, but also like the Bucks and Panthers played. They're playing twice in their next 3 weeks. And then last year, that happened as well. In one of the games was like 7-41, and the other one was like 20-24. So you really just don't know what you're going to get. How do you make a decision when... Look at 14-28, December 29, and then 2 weeks before that, it was the same thing last year. It was 26-23. This was the first matchup. So maybe I'll start Baker on the second matchup. Bucky Irving had 152 yards on 25 carries. Mike Evans had 118 yards and a touchdown. Baker threw 2 picks. And then the second matchup, Bucky Irving had 113 yards. Didn't he just have 113 yards on the last one? Baker, 359 yards, 5 touchdowns. How many points is that? That's like a 40 burger, right? That might be a 50 or like a 40 something point game. Fantasy football database 2024 regular season, but I'm going to go to that specific game week 16 2024 regular season. I did say week 18. No, week 16 to week 16. Week 16 to week 16. Chuba Hubbard, Carolina, played Arizona. Okay, so what was it, week 15? No. What was it, week 17? Tampa Bay, yeah, here it is, 359 yards. PPR. Where does it say? Oh, here it is. Baker, 34 points. And Lamar Jackson played Houston. That's a good defense. He still had 29 points. The Colts played San Francisco. Oh, no, I'm thinking of Jonathan Taylor. Bucky Irving against Carolina, he had 23 points. But Bucky Irving was healthier last year. Almost a burger. Yeah, Bucky Irving, I don't know. Do you think I should start Baker? I just can't start you if Marvin Harrison's playing. But that's why I gotta get up early. Make sure you're starting the lineup. I'm gonna run this again tomorrow morning, an hour before kickoff. So at around 11 a.m. I can see Baker having another good game versus the Panthers, but Lamar's playing Sunday Night Football. Exactly. And I like to have my Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football lock. But thanks to all the Behoff 80, Sergio, Kurt Browning, Doormat, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, anybody else that I missed. Thank you. I think that was it. Thank you for subbing, dude. Totally appreciate it. Usually I'll have a little more energy, but I have a 3-week-old baby in the room right over there, and I can't wake it up. But this one ran late, but hey, I'm glad I could help if I was able to. And hopefully I'll see you guys back on here. I live stream the games as well. I do NFL news, all kinds of stuff. So thanks for subbing. I'll see you guys on the next episode. And as always, have a good night. This one's for Bill. Love you guys. See you.